Well, happy early birthday, Terry.
Thank you.
It's so good to have you here today. And tell me, so before we get started, tell me a little bit about what you have planned for this weekend for you and your twins' birthday.
So, being a twin, we always celebrate it together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Houston visiting my sister because I always get the spiel. There's only one of you coming here versus six of us going there. So, but the whole family's in town. It'll be really nice. She's got a pool, so we'll literally just sit by the pool, hang out as a family, and enjoy
And
it. Probably do
grill,
almost the exact same thing in Memorial Day. So,
nice. So
yeah.
grill out, pool, fun stuff, maybe some good food, all that fun stuff.
We always go to one of our favorite restaurants. So I got to pick this year. So we're
Ooh,
going to
do
my
you
favorite restaurant.
alternate then? Do you
Yes.
alternate? So you get this year, she got last year?
I think she got the last 3 years. So it's about time.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Her husband pays for it. So
Okay, all right. So what's your favorite? Where are you going?
we're going to Papacitos. It's Mexican, Tex-Mex here in
Mm,
Houston, Texas.
nice,
So it's
nice.
my favorite.
Papasitos. That's your
So
favorite. Of all the restaurants, that's your favorite?
all the restaurants, that's my favorite.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Well, why don't you tell folks what you do, why you're so awesome, and I can fill in the gaps if you're nervous to do
Okay.
that.
I am Terry Wassink. I work for a company called Worldwide Technologies, or WWT for short. It's an IT services company. And I am a senior project manager transitioning because of Michelle's
Yes,
help with
yes,
Bossibly
yes.
to a PMO manager role. And so we're literally in the midst of that transition for the last 2 weeks. So working lots of crazy hours, but that's not normal. So, which is a good thing. They believe in that whole work-life balance, which is nice.
I love that.
I've been a project manager for 16 years now. For 15 years, I was with Verizon. Started in sales, then service, then project management, and then worked for 4 years with internal IT systems, and then wanted to go back out to the customer-facing projects. And so did my search, and then
Mhm.
landed on Worldwide, and started with them a little over 3 years ago.
And that's a beautiful segue, Terry, into targeting what you want and going after it is what we were going to talk about today. Why that's important and how to do that. So, from your perspective, why do you think that's so important to target a particular company, a particular role? What was it about Worldwide and some of the other companies that you looked at? Why is that important to target in your mind?
Well, one, I think if you know a bit about the company, you can make a better decision, right? And so
Mhm.
figuring out their culture, figuring out, their real, like I said, work-life balance, or the way they manage customers. Is that really a role you want to be in, or a company you want to work for? Because otherwise, you make a jump based solely on money, for instance, and then you're like, oh, this is a bad fit right away. And then you're seen as job hopping because you're immediately looking for something else because you realize there was such a bad fit. And it's a personal toll on you and the company and everything else when you have a bad fit. So you want to do your homework up front and really make sure that you're considering all of the whole package of a company, and not just pay.
Well,
So
and you're going to be. It sounds like what I'm hearing you say is that you're happier because you're in alignment with what they believe or their values. Their culture is in line with how you would operate. Is that what you're saying?
absolutely. The culture is so hard to grasp, right? And yet
Mhm.
so
It is.
important. If it doesn't line up with your own values, like the work-life balance or whatever, then suddenly one of the keys on Worldwide is they say partnership a lot, right? And yet
Mm.
do they really mean it? Like, I think as a customer, I heard it and went, rolled my eyes.
Right.
Okay,
Sure. Whatever.
right.
Right. Yeah.
And
Right.
when push came to shove, when there was real issues, did they actually act like a partner? And when you see that live, that makes such a difference. And that was something I wanted to do. I don't like the whole finger pointing, you made a mistake. I like, we're a partner. Here's what we're going to do to resolve it. And then you still want to do a root cause analysis, figure out what happened, from a project management risk perspective, right? Lessons learned, all that. But, the finger pointing immediately, you just bristle. You just like, when people are, you did this. It's like, but you didn't give me these things. And it becomes the finger pointing back and forth instead of, what are we doing to solve it and move forward?
And then you're ready to leave, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're in a position where that has taken place, you're like, oh, why did I choose this job? This is frustrating. I want nothing to do with these people now. So how did you get after that? Did they have partnership in their values? And how did you uncover that they were in alignment with what you value and what you appreciate? How did you do that, Terry?
So I had narrowed my search down when I was leaving my previous company to two different companies. And I started in a multi-pronged approach, really. So the first thing I did was I looked at companies that, as an internal IT company, had worked with us. And what did I like about them? So Randstad, there was quite a few companies that we had worked with, and Worldwide was one of them, VMware, Cisco, all partners of this company. And so I looked at them, and then I looked at the things I liked about either the people, like, you connect with certain people, and you like
and connect on LinkedIn. Connect how?
No,
how did you connect
even
with
just
them?
connect, like when we're working projects or something. Like,
Gotcha.
You can.
Okay.
Again, it's the way they talk and the way they present themselves and the way they present their company and things like that. One of the things I didn't like about Cisco was they were very, here's a statement of work. We do these little tiny things.
Rigorous.
And I like rigor personally, but and if you don't fit into this, then it's all on you. It was like, how are you helping us?
Lots of flexibility then.
The flexibility and things like that. And so Worldwide came in and was much more flexible. VMware was much more flexible. Then I looked at things like Glassdoor, Fortune 100. Both of these companies are Fortune 100 best companies to work for. And so I read some of the reviews, and the ones that talked about culture. Well, what are they talking about that's good, and what are they talking about that's bad? And then I started putting it in my own words, right? I don't just like listen to, no offense, but a line tech telling me that they don't like to travel, right? Well, that's your job. Right. I understand you don't want to travel, but how do you get your job done if you don't travel? But, and so you have to piece that together. And I just started looking at it. And then I started, talking. I had worked at McDermott with somebody that left and went to VMware. And Max,
nice. So
amazing.
Inside scoop.
And so I could ask him, and so if you don't have a direct connect like I did with VMware, and he recommended me for the job, and I mean, like, fast tracked it for me. And so to a background for those that don't know the story. So I had started interviewing. I'd really decided Worldwide was where I wanted to be. And I started interviewing in December of how many years ago now? 2017. And
forever ago.
And then they had a hiring freeze. And so then in February, when I was through, they were like, well, we have a hiring freeze. I don't know when we'll be able to bring you on. So I said, okay, well, VMware was my second choice. Awesome company too. I don't think I would have made a mistake there either way. And so I reached out to Max. He, got me in touch, and there were some job openings in Atlanta. So posted
Max
for those.
Is the guy that helped you with the VMware, like moving through that organization. Okay, cool. I want to make sure I'm tracking.
and then and they fast tracked it. I mean, you know, in like 3
Because
weeks.
of Max.
And probably because of a need.
Okay. Right.
I think I
Combination.
got
All right.
the first interview because of him, and then I think they just had a need and they just, you know, moved quicker.
Okay.
And so then when I had my third interview and they're like, okay, well, we're gonna you know, give you an offer by this date. I was like, great. So I just touched base with Worldwide and I said, hey guys, I know I've interviewed for this job. You know, you keep saying it's coming up, but I'm getting an offer from VMware by this date. And they're like, no, hold on.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, don't decide just yet.
So they said they'd have it by the Friday, and Worldwide gave me the offer on the Thursday.
Nice.
And that's, again, I don't think I would have made a bad decision either way, but I love Worldwide. It's an amazing company. So, but it was a little bit more unknown, you know. I was relying more on those feedback. Reviews. So I knew somebody who knew somebody, and I had talked to people in the company, but, you know, then I was wondering if they were giving me a sales pitch or really, you know, felt that way. Now that I'm in the culture, I feel like, you know, they gave me the right information and they weren't just trying to sell me. So,
and so your pieces were, so the first, if I back up a bit, when you were doing work with these companies, you were interfacing with people that worked for them. It sounds like there was that piece. There was another piece of talking to other sources and getting information. You know, you're doing your own research. You did that too, as far as your culture.
And I use LinkedIn. I use Glassdoor. And those were probably the two main ones. The monsters and things like that. I didn't, Indeed and things like that. I looked, but I didn't really feel like that was valuable information. It may be for some roles, but for this, I didn't really get anything. And then, like I said, I looked at the Fortune 100 best companies to work for, because if they're making that list consistently, they have to be doing something right.
Nice. You know, I never really thought about that. That's actually smart. And how long did it take you to do this research, do your due diligence, from the time that you started to?
Well, I'm sure everybody's experienced this, right? You are getting frustration in your job, or you're getting discontent, and then you're like, well, but what would I do instead? Like, especially as a project manager, right? You don't leave something, you know, you have to have a better plan. So that's what I started to do, is like, as you're having that disconnect, well, okay, well, what's out there? Both from an Atlanta perspective, you know, what companies are headquarters. So I did a real brief look at like Coca-Cola and Home Depot, and but Home Depot had previously owned HD Supply, so I didn't think
like, nope.
If it Coca-Cola, I saw so many job postings like quick,
like
so
a revolving door.
Had a huge turnover, right? Exactly. So, not to deface them, I drink Diet Coke every day, but
you are a supporter.
I looked at a company called Fiserv. I knew somebody from my MBA program that worked there and loved it, and he had said great things about it. For some reason, I couldn't break through that door, and so you know, those that believe in Kisma, I believe that was meant to be. But and so started. So I did that, like, geographically, what do I want to do, and then I said, is that the only reason I'm choosing a job? That's probably not the best reason. So then I started looking at more companies that I thought would be a good fit. IT, I like technology. I've been in technology and for so long, and so but I didn't want to go back to a service provider like a Verizon or T-Mobile or AT&T. I've been there, done that, and so then you start narrowing down that search, and then, as you're talking to people, you hear the same names of companies come up, and you're like, oh, or you hear a new one and you go, oh, well, tell me more about them.
Mm.
And it's all a little bit of networking, when you're talking to people, I think, to start getting that, and then doing your research behind it. But the research part, when I finally said, I'm going to, there was kind of a line in the sand, I'm going to now apply for jobs and I'm going to make a move. Then I probably spent a couple weeks of my own personal time, not like 2 hours a day or anything, but maybe 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week. So 4 to 6 hours total, really digging in and looking at the reviews and kind of making my own notes, and then talking to a few other people before I, and really I just applied to the 2 companies at the time.
I love that your story is so resonates with, I know so many, myself included, where it's born out of frustration, right? You're like, I'm frustrated with X, whatever X may be in my current organization. Let me poke my head up and look around. But what you do different that a lot of people don't do, Terry, is you were purposeful with, okay, yes, this is born of a frustration, but now let's shift this to fulfillment. And what would good look like? What are these companies doing that are they're making it to that list of 100 list? And what is Glassdoor saying about it? And what are other people saying about it? What is the culture? Can I see making a home here in my work? There are a lot of people that are not purposeful with targeting organizations and teams like you have targeted. So I'm thrilled that you shared all this information with me and with those that are going to watch, because I wish that more people would be more mindful about how to go about their search, what they're looking for, and what they actually really want.
Well, let me say this. You do have to know yourself well enough to know, why are you frustrated? What about the job is, and I know that the statistics say that most people leave their job, either they say it's for money, but usually it's because they're frustrated with their immediate manager, right?
Right.
And that may be more short term, especially in companies that reorganize all the time. You're going to have a different manager at some point. But are you really, when they say they're frustrated with their manager, are they really frustrated with the culture? Either they don't have a culture of promoting from within, or they don't have a culture of, celebrating the successes or things like that. So you have to know yourself well enough, I think, to know what that frustration was. And then I looked back on my career and I said, what do I like about this job and what don't I like? And one of the things was missing was that customer facing again. I was all internal IT, so everything was internal to the company. So then the culture of the company became so much more important because it was all internal. And so it exasperated all of my frustrations about the company. And let me say, the company I worked for divested a huge company. Until then, the culture was different. They had a CIO, they had a PMO organization, they had all of those things in place. Loved everything about working for that company. And then when they divested a whole group, the CIO left with the new company, the PMO organization all left. I literally sat in a corner of a whole floor that had 3 rows of cubicles and a whole row of offices that the Friday before was filled. And then the next week, I was the only one in that whole group. And it just changed the culture, and it changed my, obviously my happiness with the company, because then the things internal to the company just became frustrated. So you have to look at what that is, right? And really understand yourself and what would make you happy. And again, I know people say it's money, but
it's not.
It usually isn't, right?
You're right.
And it's so what, okay, go for the next, but then if you're working 80 hours a week and you got a $20,000 pay raise, and otherwise you could be with a company working 40 hours a week, did you really get a pay raise? Because suddenly your rate went from, I don't know, $60 an hour or $80 an hour or 100, whatever. But then the rate per hour, suddenly you're at 40 because you are working 80 hours a week. Is that really
No.
I mean,
yeah, right. Yeah. We had this conversation
at that time.
We had this conversation with another gal that we're working with where she's working like 70, 80 hours a week. And Amy said, well, if you did the math on that, what would that look like? And she goes, ooh, that hurts. Right. But I think what you're saying is make sure you understand why you want to go, why you joined in the first place, this organization, what shifted in you, and ensure you're not running away from something, but you're running towards something.
Well, and that if you had a thought process that made you choose that company, what's different in your thought process to make you, so you don't jump from one to the other, but it's still a bad fit, or it's still frustrating, or it's still, like here in Houston, a lot of people get so tied to the oil and gas industry, but it's, in a lot of ways, a very toxic environment, right? And so they jump from one company to the other, but going from Schlumberger to Halliburton or from Exxon to Shell is the same culture.
What difference does it make? Right.
You're not doing anything different. They're not doing anything different. And therefore, you're going to be just as unhappy. You may make a little bit more money, but you're going to be just as unhappy. So.
And do you think, Terry, one last question, do you think that identifying whether you're a good cultural fit is, how would someone go about doing that? Is it values? Is it something else? How do you decide if you're a good cultural fit with an organization?
Well, again, you have to know yourself. You have to know what drives you. If your value is that they're eco-friendly, you have to, again, do your research.
See if they are.
Are those in your values? Like we have a value of the path, right? And one of the things in it is integrity. That's a buzzword, but that is so key to me. Like integrity is everything I am about. And when they said that, my eyes lit up. I was all over that. Who says that in an interview? That we are looking. I mean, everybody wants that, but who says that is more important than these other things? Like a sale,
right? And they said so. They did say that. They came out and said that.
Yeah, being honest. If we have to walk away from business because we have to do something unethical or, don't show honesty and integrity, then we'll walk away. It's like, wow.
And you're like, okay, like, sign me up.
Never happened. So, wow. I mean, so, then or they say it in glass, like I said, Glassdoor, a lot of people either complaining about the company they just left, or they're leaving good feedback. And so you have to read in between the lines, but okay, where's that coming from? Yeah, so I went on their, websites, job postings, and so getting that cultural fit for me, again, later in my career, things like that, pay is not as important, although they gave me a pay increase. So I didn't.
Which is a bonus, right? Like, smart. Good girl.
But they also, I told them, okay, now that it's, I'm not starting till April, I have a family trip planned to Paris. So you have to give me enough time to take off for that in 2 months after starting, and they're like,
said, okay, yeah, good. Okay. Beautiful.
They're like, we look at you as a long-term employee, not that in 6 weeks, but I have actually worked for a company, Time Warner, that said, if you take that, don't come back.
Ooh, wow.
So now that was in my 20s, and this is, when my, but, it makes a difference, right?
It does make a
different culture.
This is beautiful. Thank you so much, Terry, for sharing why it's important to target specific roles, jobs, companies, and how to go about it. I mean, this is this wealth of information. And I know there's some folks that are wanting this information and just don't know where to get it. So thank you for sharing all of this. I really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Anytime.
And you have a fantastic birthday with your sister
Happy Memorial
and your
Day.
family. Yeah, happy Memorial Day. And I will talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks,
Have a
Michelle.
great day. Bye.